So, namaskaram to all, and welcome to one more session. Chaturmukha Samarambham Vakbhadacharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryandam Vande Guru Paramparam Ragadirogan Sadadanushaktan Asheshagaya Prasudan Asheshan Olsukyamoha Aradidan Jaghana Yopurva Vaidyaya Namostu Tasmai. So, in our last session, we were discussing about samana, and we saw that uh, the importance of grahani we saw, and how the samana is working with the agni sandhukshana. That is one point which we discussed seriously. Samanena avadhudognir pavanena tu. That is one point we discussed. Then also we saw that pakvamashaya, the sequence of words used. So it is generally it is for the purpose of agni sandhukshanam. That also we discussed. Now we find about samana doshamala vahasroto vichari. We were discussing about the freedom of samana in its movement or the range of movement of samana. So here we find doshamala vahasroto vichari. This is actually a tough statement in its first look. And if we look at the commentaries, we will not find very clear or lucid explanation about these types of observations, which is so unique with the Ashtanga Sangraha. Doshamala vahasrodo vichari. If we do not understand the sense of this statement, it looks like a dangerous statement even. So there is two parts. Doshavahasroto vichari, malavahasroto vichari. We have seen it. Doshavahasroto vichari, malavahasroto vichari. Then we will find many other sroto vichari as well, which we will come to. So here, doshavahasroto vichari means it has got the right capacity, potential, or characteristic of traveling through or traveling by means of or traveling in dosha srotas, dosha vahasrotas, or the srotas which carries doshas. Which is that srotas? Dosha vaha srotas. Which is that srotas? Hardly we find any description in the textbooks about dosha vaha srotas. Direct references on dosha vaha srotas is not easily available. So we have to be very critical while we try to understand what is this dosha vaha srotas. As a pradigna, I would like to state that this dosha vahasrotas is rasa vahasrotas. This is Rasavaha Srotas. There is no controversy in it. There is no controversy in it because I will explain. I looked into this statement or observation very seriously multiple times. I would like to bring another statement, another observation made by Vakbhada to this context. Then things will be easy. What is that statement? We have seen it in one of our earlier sessions. In Sarvaroga Nidanam, there is an observation, something like a conclusive statement or the concluding note. What is that? Pradirogam kruddhaha रोगाधिष्ठानगामिनीः रसायनीः प्रबद्यासु दोषा देहे विकुर्वते. What is that? I am repeating. Pratirogam iti क्रुद्धाः रोगाधिष्ठानगामिनीः रसायनीः प्रबद्य आशु दोषाः देहे vikurvate. What is the meaning of this statement? Iti, thus, pratirogam, in any disease, kruddhaha doshaha, doshas which are kupita, kruddhaha, rogadhisthanagaminihi rasayanihi prabadya, rogadhisthanagaminihi rasayanihi prabadya means entering the rasayanis that are directed towards the rogadhisthana, reach their destination and engage in the activity or the act of generating morbidity, vikara. So, doshas enter the rasayanis which are directed towards the rogadhisthana, reach their destination and engage in the act of generating morbidity. So, which is doshavaha srotas? Which is doshavaha srotas? It is rasavaha srotas. Then obviously there can be many doubts which are valid doubts. If it is rasavaha srotas, why it is not used as by the term rasavaha srotas? And we have already seen that Vyanavayu takes the rasadhadu from the amashaya to the hridaya and then vikshepojita karmana vyanena yugapad sarvataha ajasram dehe vikshipyate. And now we say that samana works on the rasavaha srotas. Is there any contradiction between these statements? There is no contradiction. There need not be any contradiction in this regard. All these statements are correct. Vyana takes rasa through the rasavahasiras all over the body. No, that we have already seen. But when a kupita dosha is accumulated in the koshta, that is the general pattern. It is from the koshta that the different seats, te vyapinobi hrannabhyo radho madhyo urdhva samsrayaha, in that basic seats, they are accumulated primarily, and from that seat they further move to the different destinations of the sharira. So when they are accumulated in the koshta, then it enters the Rasavahasrodas and is carried away by the rasa all across. We should assume two things. Here the samana is critical in pushing them to the Rasavahasrodas to help Vyanavayu in its further operations. And in this particular stage where dosha is highlighted, then it is known as dosha vahasrodas. In this process of loading and disseminating the dosha into this particular srotas, samana plays an important role, of course, in tandem with Vyana. So this is not an independent karma, but a peculiar karma which is done in tandem, in association with Vyana, but in a very highly specialized manner. But again, there can be many questions. See, is it something which is confined to the dissemination of Vikrita dosha? If that is the case, we cannot include it in the Prakrita karmas, isn't it? It happens in the Prakriti as well. That is the interesting part or the more important part. During the Ahara Pachana process, in the specific stages of Ahara Pachana, in the specific stages of Kabha Vruddhi, Pitta Vruddhi, Vada Vruddhi, the increased doshas in relation with the Ahara Pachana, in the Avasthapaga, these doshas are disseminated all across through the Rasavahasrodas. It is actually done by samana, in close association with the Jadharagni. In close association with the Jadharagni. Once it is in the Rasavahasrodas, of course, Vyana may be taking over further. But entering it, pushing it, giving the entry for the doshas into the Rasavahasrodas from the Agnisthana, samana plays a crucial role. That is what the author is trying to highlight here. So I assume this is clinically important. This is clinically important. In many conditions, yeah, I think the clinical importance we will discuss because it is not limited to this dosha vahasroto vichari. We are going to see many other characteristic behaviors of samana. So we will come to the clinical significance of that aspects. So here, samana discloses himself as the dosha vahasroto vichari. In planning the clinical interventions, this understanding is very important. See, yeah, I think we will come to it later. What I was just blinking in my mind was why there is a specific annakala, even samane madhya ishyate, and how important that observation is. We will come to it. We already discussed and saw that how apana affects samana in our last session. Now we saw how samana and vyana works together. And in our previous sessions, we have already seen that how the relationship between Udana, Prana, etc. are established and how they work together. And then ultimately we meet with a system of Vayu, a system of Vayu, with all accommodating all these subtypes. Then moving further with the Samana, we find Samana is Malavaha Sroto Vichari, Doshavaha Sroto Vichari, Malavaha Sroto Vichari. Means it has the freedom or right to travel through the Srodasas related to Malavahanam. Malavaha Sroto Vichari. So what is the Mala mentioned here? Primarily, it is Shakrit. We will see that. In our next descriptions, we will find that Samana plays a very important role in Sarakitta Vibhajanam, in Ahara Pachanam. Sarakitta Vibhajanam. One stage in this process is Kitta Adho Nayanam. Kitta Adho Nayanam. That is directing the Kitta. Kitta means waste. Something which is left behind after separating the Sara is known as Kitta. So that Kitta Adhonayanam, direct the Kitta downward. The Ahara Kitta is pushed down to the distal part of Pakwashaya. As we see in the case of Amashaya, the proximal part of the Amashaya is the Amashaya proper, and the second, the distal part of the Amashaya is the Pachyamanashaya, even though it may not be referred to by that name very frequently. It is the Pachyamanashaya, it is the Grahanyadhishthanam. The same way, the Pakwashaya also can be divided into the Purva Pakwashayam and Uttara Pakwashayam for all functional understandings. So this distal part of the Pakwashayam, which stands connected with the Sthulandram and then Gudam, that is working as the Malavaha Srotas. The Kittam of the Ahara is becoming Shakrit during this, its movement through that Malavaha Srotas. This is very important because when we say Srotas, generally we assume that it is a conduit or a tube through which something is traveling. Something is traveling. So see something like a pipe which is used in the plumbing works of our houses. So at one point there is water stored overhead, and we have a tap and it is connected. So water flows through the pipe. The pipe has no any role other than carrying the water which is already stored in the overhead tank. So we can say, technically, we can say that that pipe is a Srotas. But in Shariram, the Srotas is not like that all the time. Here the Srotas is very critical. From one point to the end point, the product or the material which is supposed to reach the destination undergoes many changes while it is traveling through the srotas. So many times this conduit type of imagination is not the right one for understanding srotas. Not just abhivahanam is the duty of srotas, but that changes are also happening through the all through the movement, and only by the end it is becoming the product. So the srotas itself is a part of the formation of the material which is traveling through it. Srotas plays a very crucial role in the formation of the substance which is traveling through it. It is not like just carrying the water from the overhead tank to the tap. It's not like that. So here, this is true with the most of the srotas. Some exceptions may be there, but with most of the srotas, especially those connected with the dhadu and mala. Dhadu, that parinamamabadyamananam dhadunam. So it is not like at one point the dhadu is ready, it is to be carried to the particular destination. So there is a tube connecting this point of availability and the destination. It is not like that. It is through the passage that the transformation is completed. So the duty or the role of srotas is not just as conduits or carrying tubes. Same is the case with the mala also. But sometimes see Annavaha Srotas. Even in Annavaha Srotas, I think that Annavaha Srotas reaches the Koshtam, and through that passage, many things are happening. Tadravair Bhinna Sanghadam, all those things, many things are happening in the Annavaha Srotas. So, of course, some Srotas may be there which will be working just as conduits. But most of them are not like that. Majority of them. So here, the Kittam is becoming the Shakrit while passing through the Srotas. And that Srotas is the one Malavaha Srotas, Shakrit. And that is connecting the distal Pakwashayam, the Uttara part of the Pakwashayam, with the Sthulandram and further to the Gudam. So there is a network again. So in that particular transformation, Agni has a role, Samana has a role, and of course, Samana travels through this mechanism, flow of mechanism, to make sure that the things are happening properly. Again, this is a very important observation clinically. There may be many situations where the formation of Shakrit and consistency of Shakrit, all these things are very, very important in understanding the status of Agni. It gives wonderful ideas about what is a Shakrit Pariksha is becoming so crucial. And it gives some sort of a first-hand information about what is happening inside. And it is related to all these things. What is the status of one strength of the Grahani? How far the Samana is supporting the Agni? What is the peculiar nature of Agni at that point of time? How the Sarakitta Vibhajanam is done properly, and how the Kitta Adhonayanam is done properly, and how the formation of Shagrit as the Kittam is passing through the particular Srodas is happening properly. All these things can be understood if you examine the Sakrit. And Samana is very a crucial player in this complete activity. So that is a less discussed characteristic of Samana. In the same manner, we saw one Mala, but we know that obviously the Samana should be working with or traveling with Mutravaha Srodas as well, because that is also an important part of that Sarakitta Vibhajanam. Kittam Sarascha Tad Pakvamannam Sambhavadi Dvitha Ashtanga Hridayam Sharirasthanam, 3rd chapter. Kittam Sarascha Tad Pakvamannam, Tad Pakvam Annam Dvidha Sambhavati is separated into 2. Kittam Sarahacha Tatra Acham Kittam Annasya Mutram Vidyad. Tatra Acham Kittam Annasya. Tatra Annasya Acham Kittam Mutram Vidyad. Ghanam Shakrit. So, Acham Kittam Mutram, Ghanam Kittam Shakrit. This is very interesting. This is very interesting. Actually, this was a very confusing statement, or this remains to be a very confusing statement. The Ghanam part of the Kittam is becoming Shakrit. And Acham means the clarified part, the liquid part, the Dravam part is becoming Mutram. There was a huge allegation about this, isn't it? There was a concept that the Mutram is formed in the Agnishthanam. So that is the way in which anatomy was understood in Ayurveda. Such allegations were there. I think I'm not going to the details of that controversy. But here, what I would like to highlight is the separation of that Achakittam and Ghanakittam is also a part of the Samana Karma. Pajatyannam Vibhajade Sarakittau Prathag is the Agni Karma and Samana is the assistant. Annam Grinnadi Pajadi Vivechayadi Munjadi. So it will have a crucial say in this separation of Mutram as well. So the formation of Mutram, which happens in the Mutravaha Srotas, again, while I say Mutravaha Srotas, it has got different shades of meaning. It is not just about the Srotas which carries Mutram out from the Vasti, but it is the Srotas which is working in the formation of Mutram. It is the Srotas which is working in the formation of Mutram. Of course, it is again a network which are closely connected. So in the formation of Mutram, where the Acha part of the Kittam is further processed through a networking system, which ends up in the formation of mutram, there also samana is traveling. Samana is traveling. So, dosha, mala, sroto, vichari. So, samana shows that level of freedom of movement. But definitely we should understand that this movement of samana is not independent, but as a part of a system where Agni is the team leader. Agni is the team leader. So, Agni is there in one point. It is controlled by various factors. It is promoted by certain factors. Sitting in that place, Agni is doing many things in various parts of the body. And for facilitating this, the sort of carrying certain principles of Agni to various sides is essential. There we find the dosha vahanam, mala vahanam, again shakrit and mutram. Now we will find something else, shuklartava ambu vahasrodo vichari, in our next description. These are less described or less discussed attributes of samana vayu. So samana vayu works as one crucial principle which carries the potency of Agni to various levels of operation in the Sharira. Samana carries the principles of Agni, potential elements of Agni to various parts of Sharira, and make sure that the operations of Agni is carried out properly. We will find very interesting portions of Shukla Artava Ambu Vahasrodo Vichari in our next session. So I think all the functions of samana should be understood in relation with the function of Agni. And when we say that Agni, we have got a very huge frame. Shama pragobau doshanam sarvesham agni hetukau, or esha saras chikitsayaha yad agnehe parirakshanam. There are very important observations about Agni. And all those functions of Agni is actively supported by the proper functioning of samana. We will find more about samana vayu in our next session. So today we are concluding. Before that, I think there is one chat. Kala bhojanam arogyakaranam is also with the dosha samatva. Yes, that is also an important observation. Many things, I think once we understand these points clearly, we will be able to connect these ideas with many other clinically crucial observations. Thank you very much. I am concluding. Bhishajam sadhu vrittanam bhadram agamachalinam abhyastakarmanam bhadram bhadram bhadrabhilashitam. Thank you very much. We will meet again on next Wednesday.